everyone, welcome to our process presentation. Our group is cycling out to our post-graduation and our project name is Outdoor Road TT Prediction Tour. My name is Chong. Our process presentation is divided into these 9 parts. The first part is Scrum. It is divided into 3 parts: the effectiveness of our Scrum meetings, Scrum procedure, and the reflection of our team communication. These are our sprint masters of each sprint. When it comes to the effectiveness of our Scrum meetings, for each sprint, we will hold 2 kinds of meetings: sprint review meeting and a sprint planning meeting. At 10 a.m. on Thursday morning, we held a sprint review meeting with our clients. The meeting mainly consists of the following 3 parts. The first part is present the results of the last sprint to clients. The second part is review the work of the whole sprint, and the third part is clients propose new demands and optimization plans to us for our next sprint. After that, we hold a sprint planning meeting to plan the work of the next sprint according to the client's plan at the sprint review meeting. We will split sprint planning meeting in the future because it is easier to complete the big goal by dividing into small goals. About the Scrum procedure, what our team did well was that the product backlog was very comprehensive, and the whole project was completed according to the plan of the product backlog. However, the split of the sprint backlog is not detailed enough, which led to the unsatisfactory delivery of our sprint 2. About the reflection of team communication, due to the large number of team members, not every group meeting can guarantee 100% attendance. In future projects, we should uniformly arrange the meeting time. In addition, because of the characteristics of the project, the front and the back-end work is completed separately, and the interface function is implemented until the last stage, which leads to a lack of communication between the front-end and the back-end members at the early stage of the project. Next, Cheklam Wong will introduce the requirements.
Now I'm going to talk about the requirement part. In this part, I'll show how we elicit requirements from our clients early and what major changes are made to our software. First, I'll talk about the requirement elicitation. This is the part where we turn our client's idea into written points. In the very beginning, there was a client's presentation on what he wanted. He showed us in Excel and he would like to create a software that has similar function as the Excel. Then we have a group meeting ourselves to discuss on what the client meant and try to define the requirements by ourselves. But at that moment, we are still unsure about the requirements of this project. Then we had our first client meeting. It is an unstructured interview. This allows our client to express his idea first. We went through some scenarios with him and no prototype is used at that meeting. At first, we are still confused by what we have to do, but when we decided to have another structured interview with the client, we gave him some suggestions on how his software could be, and after our discussion with the client, we had a clear requirements for this project. The reason that we are able to acquire all the requirements in the early stage is that we are well prepared for every chance when we can meet our client. We would run through the meeting among ourselves to make sure that we can utilize every moment in the meeting. Our client also gave us clear and straightforward instruction, that is, he wanted a software combining BestBike and his Excel. There are 2 major changes in our software, with software type being the first one. We changed from an OS-specific software to a web-based one, so we have to redo our UI/UX design. And we did this by converting our existing code into HTML and CSS. Another change is adding the machine learning function. It allows our software to update data from the new input. It changed our static model into a dynamic one. We had a group meeting to discuss on how to implement the change. And for the following part, I'll pass the time to my next groupmates to talk about the definition of done.
Let's move on to definition of done. At the start of the project, the main one is migrating the supply and demand model to web-based to provide portability. For front-end, first is to provide interfaces for coaches, athletes, and admin to manipulate data. Second is the website needs to be used from mobile phone to desktop to enhance the portability. Last one is to ensure the UI theme is consistent with official site. For backend, the first DoD is to use Excel to calculate, instead of migrating all formulas in it. Second is all functionalities of the model needs to be completed, tested, and be efficient, that result is correct and waiting time is minimized. Last one is the result visualization. By the end of the project, our first DoD for front-end is the completed interface for coaches to adjust parameters and athletes to read result. The second one is the website layout works on large screen, and the header on the page is consistent with official site. For backend, the first DoD is migrating Excel to server for direct access and calculation. For functionality, the calculation result returned correctly on right path. And for visualization, the result image from Excel can be shown on the web page. As for reasons for evolution, the major one is over-optimistic. We are confident about the sprint goals, but we didn't actually know the tech stacks. It led to a bad time management. The estimated required time on every sprint was shorter than it actually needed. As a result, we took detour and left technical debt in every sprint. The last reason is synchronization. Sometimes our mutual sense on the project was not synchronized. It happened many times that our work was overlapped, resulting in wasting time. Overall, our delivery is less than expected.
My name is Yanzhao Lu. I will introduce our project tools. This is our tools list. For the version control, we decided to use GitHub because compared with SVN, Git is a distributed VCS, which will solve the conflict problem very well. GitHub allowed multiple people to work on the same piece of code online or offline. For those who are not in the same physical location, GitHub is an easy solution. Moreover, GitHub provides a nice, easy way to check the version history online. For the impact on the project, the setup is simple, and it is great for remote collaboration because our group includes remote students, so there is no problem for everyone to collaborate together. In our backend development, historical version can avoid many bugs caused by merge conflicts. Next, for IDE, we decided to use IDEA because of powerful integration capability, such as we can use GitHub and the Spring Boot framework in IDEA. It also includes quick and convenient reminder function, which can help us debug code and increase the development efficiency. For the communication tools, we use Slack and WeChat, because WeChat is for quick response and reminders, and more specific team communication will be in Slack. If both communication tools work together, it will increase our team communication efficiency. Next slide is the database tools. We use Docker, since it helps all team members complete the data construction under different operation systems. Next slide is for tools not applied, which is a data grip. Because we found it too late, it will visualize data and simplify database operations.
Hello, my name is Danyang Chen. I'm the back-end member of this project. In this part of the presentation, I'm presenting the progress analysis of our group. In this part, I mainly analyze the new skills and the obstacles we encountered throughout the project, and what changes we would make to improve efficiency if we could restart the project. Throughout the project, I learned many skills like building motion models, deriving physical formulas, and using front and back-end frameworks. The first of these skills were previously unexplored areas, and although they were very difficult to learn at first, they gave me a sense of accomplishment after deriving the formulas. For the third skill, what I did before was either a separate database or a separate front-end web page. And after learning how to build the framework, I can simplify the whole development cycle and improve the development efficiency in the future development. In addition to that, there were some things that hindered the progress. In the initial stage of the project, we considered wiser to use Excel directly as a back-end data source. However, after testing, we found that using Excel would increase the workload of the back-end Access interface. Secondly, we found that many physical formulas were completely incomprehensible, which greatly hindered the progress of our project. And in the final stage of the project, there were some information gaps in communication between the front-end and back-end personnel, which led to many interfaces between them could not be connected. After a detailed progress analysis of our group, I believe that if we were to restart our project, I would change two main parts of the process to improve progress. The first is to define the programming framework and language to be used for each part of the beginning. Second, I would actively follow up the progress of each team member throughout the project, and organize at least twice work presentations weekly and discussions within the team to facilitate the integration of subsequent sub-projects and to accelerate the work efficiency.
Let me introduce the testing process of our project. We have adopted two testing frameworks in our project. The first is Selenium Test Mode. We used it to test our front-end UI with Chrome on Mac OS and Windows 10, and also performance tests. Here are some of the test results. The second framework we used is Postman. Before we connect the front-end and the back-end, we used it to test the back-end controller, or you can say API. And here are some of the test results. We did use test-driven development for some unit development. For example, first, for login database development, we set up test cases of username and password length from 0 to 20, and one special test case of length 100 for defect test, and developed to pass these test cases. Secondly, for model unit development, we set up test cases of 5 different values for each parameter, compare the results returned with the results from spreadsheet. And lastly, for cost segment function development, though we didn't finish the implementation, we set up test cases of 100 different locations of segment for 2 GPX files. So far, we have done the unit testing for all the codes in Python, Java, and HTML, JS, CSS, and bottom-up integration testing by the sequence of user login, user input, model verification, and result visualization. Also, we have done the system testing, which includes release testing for 3 user cases, which is logging as athlete, coach, and sport scientist, and also the performance testing for the system using test mode. Due to the life cycle of this project, unfortunately, we haven't done sufficient defect test cases for all tests. Meaning we were doing the normal tests that the system should pass to verify the functioning. And we haven't done stress testing, which can help us better understand the failure behaviors. We had a couple of bugs pushed onto the GitHub, but not essentially code-based, but things like third-party libraries that only support Windows or only support Mac, or Maven configuration from different environments. These are all due to different device environment of team members. So it could not really fixed by tests. All the team members have tested on their own devices before pushing to GitHub.
I will talk about documentation in our group. So we have created 6 documentation in our group, which is user, process, meeting notes, retrospective, proposal, and technical documentation. So user documentation is like include guides, handbooks, and process documentation we put diagramming tools can be integrated. As always, we record our meeting notes after each Thursday, and we have each project is learning opportunity. What went well, what went not well, we write in snapshot and retrospective. Finally, technical documentation include web page, PowerPoint, stores, graphs, letters, and we use that. So who can read the documentation? So since everyone working on the project has something to gain from its documentation, everyone can read and share. So in other words, how much each individual contributes is based on their role and involvement in the project. So our procedure to the documentation, we structure it logically, we keep it up to date, we use different templates and get input from stakeholders. We review and update regularly for every Scrum Master, and we keep it accessible, ensure its accuracy. It always should be clear and concise and make it visible, appearing. And finally, we need to include examples. So what I like for our group manage our documentation is our group avoids saving unnecessary documents. So we always follow a consistent method for naming files and folders for each team members can easily to find it. So we store related documents together, whatever the type, and separate ongoing work from complete work, and also avoid overfilling folders and organize documents by date. Finally, we make digital copies of paper documents to difference from the paper and digital one. So what I think our group need more documentation is project chapter and scope statement, and some communication plan, design guidelines, project status reports. So communication plan establish policy on meeting with your team. So it will set our expectations for internal communication methods and frequency. And project chapter sometimes can add some details to our initial proposal, so we can do it later in our future project. And that's all from my part. Thank you.
Hello everyone, the next part is software analytical. As a back-end code programmer, I believe that if we can prove the smaller or the more focused pull requests lead to a better code. The first point is focus, which is controversial work spirit from the day-to-day work. It is not always possible to identify ahead of the time, which the jobs was sparking more discussion during the review. New work that consider multiple work get more feedback than works and following existing work. Improve request, which including the unique feature that I already want to show to the reviewers to see. If unique bits in the pull request body, they should indicate it. This will allow the reviewer to identify the signal from the noise. Second is getting smaller. It is natural for pull requests to getting bigger. Optimistic reduce our ability to estimate work, which result in our pull request for this project, often having more code changes than expected. Therefore, I think a good pull request marking comments easier. Comment small unit of the work so that they can be recovered and grounded and apply a clear message to each command in case you need to move it. And the next part, if I have a chance to have a data analyzed for our software, I will need the input and output data of the system and the information data that after the user making their prediction. The main purpose of this is to analyze the reliability and the variability of the data used by the users of the entire system to determine whether our program is working well after it's launched to user. KMO test will used to evaluate the structure's reliability and the variability. For second point, I will test the formal. The first is to test the input control variables method to ensure that each variable's change correspond to the changes. The purpose of this is to ensure the reliability of the formal. Using two-tailed ANOVA test to ensure the reliability current of the formal divided by the physical scientist. According to this, I have a 3 different hypotheses. First is about data, second is about the formal, and then the third one is about the parameter.
Okay, let's move on to the final reflection. We have 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses. For the strengths, the first one is team collaboration. Our team members work together with each skills to develop the prediction tool. For the benefits, it can support knowledge sharing, give a broader perspective on the design, and encourage better problem solving. The second one is the adaptation to change. In this project, we need to develop different skills and we also take on unfamiliar responsibilities. About the benefits, we can overcome the barriers and progress in an uncertain agile environment. And we can be able to handle career transition in the future. The third one is good time management of our team. We had schedule plan and timeline about each task before starting the project. About its benefits, our tasks can be completed on our expected date and less situation of delays. We can also get clear daily goals for our team. We'll now move on to the weaknesses. The first one is poor meeting management. Some members were not able to join all the meetings. so that we may have communication gap and delays in some implementation process. To improve that, we can prepare and circulate meeting minutes and collect feedbacks from those absent members. The second one is poor communication of our team. Sometimes we were hard to catch up with others' work and make ineffective connection, and it will cause low teammates' morale and attention. We can improve that by proactively seeking feedback and build trust between each other first. The third one is unbalanced workload distribution. Some members spend longer on tasks that they were not good at. It may cause conflicts and contribute to stress and poor quality work. We can solve that by assessing the real capacity of the members before allocating the tasks. And this is the end of our final process presentation. Thank you.